Morning, Roxanne. Thank you for my brooms. Arlene, Arlene Lewis. Morning, Arlene. Pauline Buckmeyer. Glenn Richardson. Morning, folks. Alberta Sampath. Morning. See, Sister Lynette Harris. Morning to you. Annette Neptune. Morning, Annette. Felix Hospitalis. Morning to you guys as well. Nadia Lewis Dixon. Rudolph Barnett. Morning, sir. Alicia Almande Rocher. Morning. Jenny Bengushi. Morning. Jennifer Nathan. Morning to you as well. Vivian Nicholas, morning. Dwayne Peters, morning to you. Cyril Mayas, morning, sir. Carol Boyce John, proud to be Trini. The Real Raga, morning. Clay Irish, good morning to His Excellency, President of the Republic of Pleasantville, Nigel O'Connor, and First Lady Marcia Keegan. Adriana Alexis, Jennifer Ferron, morning. Dandy Sandiford, morning to you. Dandy Sanford, sorry. Gloria Lazar Green, morning. Judy Bowen, morning, Judy. Morning, Joy. What is this? Okay, Dandy saying. So, folks on Facebook, are you all hearing me? What is going on with this thing? Again. Right. Y'all hearing me on YouTube? Anyone? Okay, they say YouTubers we can find. Jennifer says they're hearing me. Teresa Thomas, Alison Boyce, Caroline Augustus. Caroline is asking, have you changed your days? No, I haven't. Caroline, what happened was that I couldn't do the live yesterday because I came in around midnight on Wednesday. And then yesterday I had the first preliminary round for Junior Calypso Monarch judging, and that started at, I was required to be in Port of Spain for 8:30 yesterday morning. And that was a whole day exercise. We didn't finish until almost 6 o'clock. We had 44 competitors to judge yesterday. So I couldn't do the live yesterday. So I decided I would do it today since I didn't have one on Tuesday. If I had it on Tuesday, then I would have just foregone yesterday and just the next one would have been on Sunday. So just for today, I'm doing it for today, and I can't even stay that long because I have another early morning meeting, which I'm going to have to get accustomed to because this campaigning thing is one thing after another. Yeah, so is everybody want to meet with you? Hazel Sinnott, Listrus Sydney, Annette Neptune, Marlene Pantin, Chris Hamilton, morning to all of you. Anthony Miguel, Deish Robin, Pamela O'Connor, Richard Mitchell, morning to all of you. Morning, Gemma, Marva, Ashton, Patsy, morning. Morning, Carol. Alison Boyce, morning. Right, okay, good. Bernadette Yates, Clyde McKenzie, morning to all of you guys. Rookman Gang, good morning, Rookman. Zen Master. Right, so I said I have to jump off a little earlier this morning. So let me just jump into it. So a couple of quick things I wanted to touch on. With all that has been going on over the last week and so on, as they say, never a dull moment in sweet TNT. This issue with the commissioner now suspended. So second commissioner, substantive commissioner that we've had suspended in the last 4 years, because Griffith was suspended shortly after his contract would have expired. And as you know, he would have gotten an acting appointment pending the completion of the merit list to be sent to the parliament, and then this whole issue with the firearms users license thing, and he was subsequently suspended and he was replaced by McDonald Jacob. And now we have Ulla Christopher, who is now on suspension, replaced by Mr. Benjamin. Right? So we're hearing conspiracy theories and about it being a setup and all of that, and who are desires to be commissioner of police. Anyway, I don't have any information on that, so I can't really speak to that issue at the moment, but to be continued. right? So we just put that one on the shelf for now. Needless to say, it is a most unfortunate development, right? Not good. But when I first heard about it, I said, if there is any merit to, always I don't think so. But again, because Ulla Christopher doesn't strike me as the type of person who would engage in misbehavior in public office. So it may have been, who knows, you just sign off on something because you have trust in your subordinates that they would have done their checks and balances and that everything is above board. Right. So it may be a case of that, but she has a very good lawyer, so we'll see how that develops. But if there was anything untoward, then it to me, it vindicates Dr. Rowley with respect to this whole matter of the merit list when they say he intercept the merit list, which is something that they can't seem to stop talking about. But I would have made the point when that situation would have occurred that the Prime Minister, if he is in receipt of information that puts a question mark over the credibility or puts a question mark over the viability of anybody on the merit list to serve as commissioner of police, then he has a responsibility to ensure that the country, Parliament, and by extension, the country is saved that embarrassment, right? So in this instance, you have a situation where person are saying, well, you know, it's them pick Ula and whatnot. That was Rowley handpick and that was Rowley puppet and all of these different things. As Dr. Rowley has made the point, the name came from the Police Service Commission. Parliament had a responsibility to debate it. At the time, there was no issues with the name, and therefore, the proceeded. Let us not forget that Ulla Christopher's nomination and subsequent selection was unanimous in the Parliament. The UNC gave their support for her as well. And just as in this case, they say they have no issues with Mr. Benjamin. As far as they know, he's fine. He checks out, he checks all the boxes and so on. So they have no issue with him. And so they gave their support. Okay. But we don't know. And so I'm going back to the issue of the merit list where Gary Griffith's name was supposed to be at the top. So we are told. How they know that, I don't know, because the only persons who would have laid sight on that merit list would have been the Police Service Commission. And I don't even know if the president at the time would have had opportunity to look at it, because the merit list, as we know, was withdrawn shortly after it was submitted to the president. So she, Paula May Weeks, may not have even had an opportunity to look at it. But yet still we hear Gary name was at the top of the list. How will you know that? How will you know that? As the song they sing, and Gary name was at the top of the list. Okay. All right. Yeah. And then thereafter, we saw the saga of the firearm users license investigations, 4 different investigations, 2 of which were completed. The first one that was commissioned by the National Security Council, and the second one that was done by retired Justice Stanley John at the behest of the Police Service Commission. The other 2 investigations, one was being conducted by the Police Complaints Authority, and the other one was by the Police Service. We've not had a conclusion to those 2, but we know the Prime Minister would have told us the first one that was done made for very disturbing reading. And then what we heard from Justice Stanley John, described as a well-oiled criminal enterprise, basically gives support to the first one that was initiated by the National Security Council. So we can only assume that the other 2, the one that would be completed by the PCA, whenever that is, and the one that was being done by the Police Service, and we know coming out of the Police Service investigation, there were 8 police officers, some of whom were senior, who were arrested and charged for soliciting bribes and the like with respect to firearm users' licenses. Right? So, yeah, but some of these, I don't know, police investigations just take forever and a day in this country. We're still waiting the outcome of the Prison Gate investigation involving Gerald Ramdeen, former UNC senator, and Varun Debedine. Since 2014, we are now in 2025. That investigation has been ongoing for 11 years. That has to be a record. 11 years. 2 attorneys accused of cutting and pasting. One of them basically confessed having written a letter to the court, right? Because remember, this matter was first unearthed by a master of the court who was looking at the submissions of certain persons who were suing the state, claiming that they were beaten and abused by police and prison officers and so on. And when the master of the court noticed the similarities and raised the issue, that's how it became public knowledge. But 11 years, and they're still investigating. But again, the media in this country will ask questions about everything under the sun except things like that. When was the last time they asked all these police press conferences that they've had over the last 11 years? Nobody thought to say, well, just inquiring as an aside. What's the status of the investigation into prison gate? Because that investigation has been ongoing. And since 2014, ASP Dinoon, who by now I'm sure must have retired, who was the senior in charge of that investigation, said that in October of 2014, he said the investigation was almost at a close. All that was left to be done was to question Mr. Ramdeen and Mr. Debedine. 11 years later, Alex still can't question these two men as yet. You see why people don't have confidence in the justice system in the country? Anyway, but we were able to do an investigation in the space of, what, a few months? And we lock up. We arrest the police commissioner. We arrest the former head of the SSA in a more serious investigation. But one simple thing, cutting and pasting, trying to defraud the state. 11 years, we're still investigating that. Anybody can explain that to me? That investigating, not investigating. But anyway, as when the matter of the police service, we know, with all that has been happening, we ain't hearing much about the SOE. All the people who are coming out of the woodworks, the men and women of letters talking about the SOE wouldn't work and the SOE this and that and Saddam Hussein and all of them. But when we look at the statistics and the data, everything for them is statistics and data. Well, it is clear that the SOE isn't working because we still have home invasions taking place and we still have persons being murdered and all of that. So therefore, the SOE is a failure. Now, they've taken advantage of all the other distractions that have been going on to avoid having to speak to the issue of the state of emergency. Because when we look at the main crime, yes, it's a subset of crime. But in Trinidad, when you listen to the media and other persons, when we talk about crime, it's only murder. Right? The main crime that most people are concerned about, murder, is down from last year. But you wouldn't know that unless it is that you are following up on those statistics. Or we are treated to a press conference where now acting Commissioner Benjamin is often wants to give us the statistics in terms of the total number of crimes committed year to date as compared to the corresponding period previous year, right? We know that because that is what was happening between 2010 to 2015 in an attempt to downplay the number of murders. They were telling us, well, major crimes are down, the number of rapes, the number of burglaries, the number of armed robberies, all of these things. We were getting granular details with respect to all of the other crimes beside murder. And then that stopped. And now the police service has restarted. So we're getting these figures now. So for the same period last year, we were about just over 50 murders, about 52 murders. So far for this year, we're on 34. Right? So that's 18 less murders than the previous year. So if Saddam Hussein and the UNC want to talk about statistics to argue a case as to whether or not the SOE is working, to me, if you're 18 murders less than you were last year, that says something, right? Because for last year, we had 44 murders in January, 42 murders in February. So in the first 2 months of the year, we would have had 86 murders, right? And but at this time last year, the murder count was past the number of days in the year. Today's the 7th, so today's the 38th day of the year, and we're on 34 murders. So we are behind. We're not ahead of the number of days, we're behind. But last year, that's all they talk about, more murders than the days in the year and all of that. Today, it's less than the number of days in the year. Why are we not talking about that? All the people, as Dr. Rowley referred to them as ambulance chasers and hearse chasers, the people who love to open their phone or pick up the newspaper and see another murder committed. Why? because they consider that to be an indictment against the government. The government can't get a handle on crime. And then, well, we know that at the end of the 3 months, they have to go back to Parliament to request an extension if so desired. So the UNC loves to ask for statistics and data to give their support. Well, so far, the data says that the SOE is working with insofar as the number of seizures of illegal weapons and ammunition, the reduction in murders, the reduction in almost all major crimes. So look at the statistics there. So they ain't talking about SOE no more. Instead, what are we talking about? We're talking about Stuart Young and Stuart Rajesh Young and Angus. I forget the name that they gave to Stuart Young's brother. Disrespecting, well, Hindu names, according to the Mahasabha, who is now very upset. I saw a video clip with the Secretary General of the Mahasabha. I think that's his position. Vijay Maharaj, the son of Sat Maharaj, who on the program, the Mahasabha Strikes Back, was extremely upset with the UNC, making the point that Stuart Young's mother, though of East Indian descent, is Muslim. And therefore, he was questioning, why didn't you use Muslim names if you're going to poke fun at people's names and so on, and go down the racial road? Why didn't you use names like Yusuf or Muhammad, like Stuart Yusuf Young and Angus Muhammad Young, instead of Stuart Rajesh and these names? So again, the Mahasabha continues to show that they are not in step with the UNC, as was the case when Sat Maharaj was there and he was leading the Mahasabha, and therefore Kamla enjoyed Sat's support until she gets Sat vexed. So I see all who cussing VJ and talking about, oh, you is not your father, I know your father was this and your father was so great and your father. Yeah, well, you seem to forget on more than one occasion his father followed with Kamla when she was uninvited to the Diwali celebration. Remember that? Then there's the other time when Sat got upset with her and tell her she doing what she wants, she playing the ASS all over the place, eating what she want and drinking what she want, and she'll pay a hell of a price, Kamla, hell of a price. Sat said that. Yeah, and we saw what happened in 2020. They lost the election. So I noticed a lot of persons who probably identify, well, a lot of them who've been identifying themselves as Hindu in the comments, saying, they don't support the Mahasabha and all that. Look at the extent to which they're going to go, right? You will abandon an organization that for years has represented, in large measure, the interest of the Hindu community. But for the sake of politics and wanting to support an individual whose political currency is worth less than the Bolivar, less than the pesos, you're willing to abandon this entity, talking about this man thing and whatever. But if he was cussing Dr. Rowley and the PNM, oh yes, so they would have support that. Because he is speaking and he's not chastising so much their politics. But then again, it is. Because Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, interestingly, rather than deliver that speech herself, for whatever reason she wasn't there, we could speculate. And we'd probably be right. They put Jolene John, of all people, to read that speech. And Jolene was only too happy as she read with great aplomb. Yeah? And figured that mocking Stuart Young, using Hindu names and so on, that was okay. And it highlights the hypocrisy of the UNC. Because when Camille Robinson Regis, as we all recall, simply mentioned Kamla Prasad Bisesa's full name, and referencing Kamla, she said, Kamla Sushila Prasad Bisesa. She didn't mock the name, she didn't say anything about her name or whatever, to the extent that Jolene John went down. She merely called out Kamla's full name. So I put an emphasis on her name. I want you to know I'm speaking to you, Kamla Sushila Prasad Bisesa. After 9 days, the UNC suddenly became incensed over that because their leader was vexed. For 9 days, the leader said nothing. Right? She didn't have an issue, she wasn't offended. And then she woke up one morning and decided, okay, I'm offended today. It's been 9 days. And you know, Trinidad and Tobago was a 9-day wonder, so let me not miss this opportunity. I'm vexed today because Camille called out my whole name. So I'm going on the platform tonight and make our ruckus and talk about that. And as soon as she said that, all the potongs came out from behind the house. Massa vex or we vex. Massa vex or we vex. And all of them come and they start to make a fuss and yeah. Oh, she was Camille was disrespectful and she was this and that and she mocked all kind of choppy talk. Right? So I know it was racist and all of that, but what Jolene did was quite all right in the eyes of the same people who were upset because Camille simply mentioned the full name of their leader. But some of these shameless Hindus who were sitting in that crowd, right, and listen to what Jolene John was saying, you all didn't feel the same way well that VJ felt? Well, VJ was offended. As a practicing Hindu, he was offended. So the fact that you all cannot come to any sort of consensus in terms of offense speaks volumes, that you are willing to capitulate at the altar of expediency to support your leader, who probably herself, as a supposed practicing Hindu, I don't know, because one day she's Hindu, next day she's a Baptist, who knows what else she is, and she's a Pentecostal, because she always bringing this Pentecostal church to sing not Celine Dion, CC Winans song, Goodness of God. That seems to be her favorite gospel song. So depends on what day of the week it is, she will decide what religion she subscribes to. Right? But why wasn't she there? She should have come and done that. But after she committed the capital offense of the statement she made about Joe Biden, she probably said, I can't take no more licks now. My back can't take no more. But let's see how I bend over and I hunch over like the hunchback of Notre Dame. I can't take no more licks. Let me send Jillian. Let she do that. Jillian back broader than mine, and she hasn't gotten as much licks as I have gotten. So yeah, let Jillian shoulder that burden. And she was only too happy to deputize and make a complete fool of herself. Right? Because they realize, hey, well, if Stuart Young have roots, East Indian roots, and not just East Indian roots, you have East Indian roots on Pinal and Lal Bihari Trace. And the man is still go down there and see his family and so on. So to some extent, he's one away. Yeah, he's more one of us than Rowley was. So we should give him a little credit for that. Maybe if it is he's prime minister, he got to do something for Lal Bihari Trace and by extension Pinal, because Lord knows the MP for down on that side and doing one tail. Nothing. Waste that time. And I saw, in fact, an article yesterday on CNC3 on, I think it was a Guardian or something, on Facebook, where they were talking about Padarat warning the people of Moruga not to take chin up from the PNM because of the work that is being done, and some comment made by the Minister of Works and Transport, telling the people of Moruga Tableland, that if they vote for the UNC, they wouldn't benefit from all the things that they need infrastructurally, meaning UNC have no time at all, right? Boy, the licks Padarat gets in those comments. And from people who live in Moruga Tableland and surrounding areas, people from his own constituency who are telling him, study your own constituency, you don't talk about Moruga Tableland. When was the last time you walked Princestown? When was the last time you did anything in Princestown? So we see, finally, persons down on that side, even though their voting might still, because they ain't like the PNM. But they take the opportunity to put some licks on the MP, wasting time. Showing the fact that all the talk and all the mouthing that he mouths, that he's an ineffective MP. Kudos to them for that. We'll see how it plays out in the election. In fact, I saw somebody telling him, you're so focused on Moruga that you even realize that Princestown is becoming a marginal seat. So them say, I don't know. We will look at the election numbers when that time comes and we will make that determination. But for now, yeah. So I was making the point about Jillian. I was on the point of Jillian. Let me read this one time. Was the time there? I need to be able to give you all some time for calls, and I still have something else that I want to touch on. Just now, let me just get this here. Where is it? No, that's not it. I'm sensitive this morning, but where is it? Right. As on the point of Jillian, because they love to talk about PNM and 1%, and if you vote for the PNM, you're voting for the 1%. Stuart Young is 1%, right? This article, dated the 26th of March 2016, entitled Jolene Cashes In. While at HDC, fired managing director received $100,000 monthly benefits from previous employer. Sacked Housing Development Corporation Managing Director Jillian John received income from the Pizza Boys Group, the private company where she was previously employed, while she was at the helm of the state-owned HTC. So she left the company. She was working at HTC as the managing director, but still getting paid by the 1% owned Pizza Boys Group. John yesterday confirmed to the Sunday Express that Pizza Boys Group Chairman Mario Sabga Aboud wrote to the Integrity Commission outlining a benefits package she was receiving from the company as required under the Integrity in Public Life Act. John said at the time she left Pizza Boys, she was getting a 7-figure salary. Yeah, that's it. So she was earning over $1 million a year while she was at Pizza Boys, working for the who? The same 1% that they cussing today and telling you the 1% is the worst thing, and the PNM and Stuart Chung and 1%. But she was firmly ensconced in the 1% camp. And they so loved her that even after she left the work, they were still paying her over $100,000 a month. So she was still earning 7 figures from Pizza Boys, not working for them and doing anything while she was managing director of HTC. But you have to do the Integrity in Public Life declaration, which is due. One of the worst things to fill out. By the 31st of May, so she had to declare that money. And she got Mr. Sabga Aboud to write a letter to the Integrity Commission on that. I continue. Here's the excuse, right? So she was getting a 7-figure salary, but she had never taken gratuity and profit sharing during her time there. Reminds me of Gita Sakal from CL Financial when CL was about to crash. And we heard in the testimony at the Commission of Inquiry, Ms. Sakal had a check for $5 million sitting in her desk drawer for the longest while. And she just didn't get time to go and deposit it. When it is that you could have a check for $5 million US, not TTN, $5 million US sitting in a drawer in your desk for months, and you just didn't get time and it's no big deal, tells you your pocket had to be deep, right? Your pockets have to be deep that you could forget a check for $5 million US. Anyway. And she said this benefit was there for her whenever she required it. So there was the agreement that I would draw down on these things as the need arose, she said. So a letter was properly sent to the Integrity Commission. And every year I would declare if I drew down. So there was no mystery. It wasn't as if I was working for them, she said in an interview with the Sunday Express. It was a matter that I accumulated benefits that were due based on my period there. And as I drew down, it was still being accumulated because these businesses continue to be in existence. So you leave the company, you're going to work for someone else, but you're telling them that all of these benefits continue to accrue to you even though you weren't working there. John said this Integrity Commission letter cleared her of anything nefarious. She insisted that she was not paid a salary as such, but received residual benefits. She remarked that this was a non-story. Okay. So, lucky you. I wish I could find an employer who will continue to pay me over $100,000 a month after I leave. But anyway, the same 1% who she cussing today. I wonder if she's still in receipt of that, if she still has the facility to draw down to the tune of $100,000 a month. You had real benefits and gratuity, by. Damn, that's a nice job. I just thought I'd make mention of that. So next time you hear who talking about 1% and accusing Stuart Chung, just remember, right? Just remember, she was right there in the thick of things. So the same 1% who she cussing. So can we assume that if they were to win the election later this year, God forbid, and she were to become a government minister, let us not forget, she was instrumental in when she became Minister of Works and Transport, and she took over the Piaco Airport project, only to find that there were no concessionaires in the food court. That one of the first concessionaires to find themselves there was, in fact, the company that she previously worked for, right? The same Pizza Boys group. You see, we have Church's Chicken and whatnot and stuff in the airport there. Ms. John had a hand in that, right? So she became a government minister and she made sure she looked after the interests of her former employer. So can we then assume that if she were to become a government minister, if they were to win later this year, that we can expect that she may be inclined to look after the interests, again, of her former employer, who she seems to have not cut ties with, So when they want to come with a dotish 1% talk, and they're talking about the 1% and the 1%, bear that in mind, right? She has already shown she has the propensity to look after the interests of her former employers, her 1% employers. Yeah? Okay. Maybe that's why she benefited from continued monies for looking after them. Just see. And let us not forget, with all the new ministries that they plan to open, there are a lot of empty buildings around Port of Spain that are owned by the same so-called 1% that they cussing today, right? So again, we don't know who these owners are. We just know that these buildings are owned by the Syrian Lebanese community. These very buildings that have become empty over the last 8 to 9 years because of the policies of this current administration to occupy state-owned premises as far as possible, rather than continue to rent and pay hundreds of millions of dollars in rent every year to the same so-called 1%. Bear that in mind. Most of these empty buildings that were previously occupied by state agencies and ministries are today empty because this administration took a decision to establish its own premises. Build your own premises. So the new Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Social Development is well underway in terms of construction on Tragate Road. So those of you who have passed on Tragate Road recently, you will notice that building is going up apace. I'm amazed at how far they've reached in construction. So it tells you, so when that building is completed, at least 2 buildings owned by Zaman Enterprises, which is owned by the in-laws, Paris Al-Rawi's in-laws, will now become vacant. So there's another 2 buildings that will be empty. 2 buildings for which the owners will not be collecting rent, at least not from the government. Right? And now the government has indicated that the work from home or the remote work policy is almost complete, where it is they will be looking into allowing public servants to work from home, which means there will be less need for the government to rent office space, less rental money, less taxpayers' money being spent on rent going into the pockets of the same 1% that the UNC loves to talk about and malign and bad talk. What are they offering? They instead are offering to create unnecessary ministries should they come into office to have to go back and rent these same buildings that have been abandoned and have not been earning income. And I always point out whenever I talk about this, that blue glass building at the bottom of Independence Square and Abercrombie Street, owned by Issa Nicholas, that was previously occupied by Customs, has for the last 8 years or so been empty. Issa Nicholas has not collected 1 penny of rent. So that building is more of a liability because he has to maintain it in case he were to get a tenant. But can we expect that it would be occupied should the UNC win the election later this year? Because remember, there's a friend when George Nicholas was the chairman of Caribbean Airlines under the People's Partnership, right? So that is Kamala Friend. She put him there. Rowley ain't give him no post, no position of any kind or sort. So don't complain. You see, as we see taking place in the United States now, where they're suffering from a severe case of voters' remorse, plenty of people who supported Mr. Trump and are now taking back their votes because they didn't take the time to understand the policies. That when the Democrats were telling them, Project 2025, if you put Trump in place, this, that, the other, and the next, that's just fear-mongering. He wouldn't do that. He said he's not associated with Project 2025 in any way. So that's just the Democrats trying to scare people. Trump, make America great again. You all went, you gave your vote, and now you're having regrets. So one woman do a post, she regrets because her business has now suffered. She has a construction business, and the majority of her workers were Mexicans or Hispanics, and a lot of them have now left the job because they're afraid that ICE is going to come and round them up and send them back to from whence they came. So now she and her husband, their business is about to go under because they cannot find workers. They have projects, but no workers to complete the projects as a result of Trump's crackdown on illegal immigrants. And we see that is not just limited to the construction industry, to the agriculture sector. You have a lot of these workers were employed in these sectors. So you have a lot of fields with fruits and vegetables that are just there, as laying fallow because they have no workers to pick. And the Americans don't want that type of breakback work. So when Trump is saying, yeah, they come in to take black jobs, not white jobs, black jobs, because apparently for him, blacks supposed to be out in the field, picking fruit and picking vegetables and stuff, right? So, yeah, well, look, we get rid of them. So they have jobs now to go break back, work in the sun, go and do it. They don't want that. Almost every store that I went into while I was abroad, um, short staffed, long lines, short staff. They can't get workers. Almost every store you see in a sign, help wanted, hiring, everywhere, right? Every single place you go, you're seeing that. They can't find workers. A population of 300 plus million people, and they can't find workers. And now they're understanding the impact that the immigrant community had on the US economy. And they had to find that out the hard way. Really? I went to Bank of America to do a transaction, and the bank manager is my good friend. I said, but how come the bank's so quiet? Normally when I come here, I just sit down here and wait and stuff. And she's like, boy, people are afraid to come in. They're afraid to come in. They're afraid to leave their homes, lest I should target them while they're on the road, pull them over, and snatch them. So she said most of the people call in the bank, right, to find out what they could do, online transactions and the like. And she told them, if you don't have to come in the bank, don't. We understand. We will assist you in the best way possible. So the banking hall empty. I was surprised. Went there twice or 3 times while I was there. And the banking hall empty. They had nothing to do. No customers coming in because the majority of their customers are Spanish speaking, as is the case in that side of Florida. But let us not find ourselves in a similar situation where you have to burn to learn, please. You are warned. You are warned. You know, we tell all you what a UNC government would bring, what a UNC government would mean. How else all you want us to tell all you? Other than you choose to vote for them, which is less likely, as opposed to the more likely outcome where people simply say, me a voting now. Either way, I'd forget that, me a voting. And you sit down home, you say, yeah, my one vote don't count, so I ain't voting. I vex with the PNM for whoever. One guy who I know is a staunch supporter of the PNM, who I thought would have been pleased at my selection to be a candidate. And he was like, boy, you're making me to go back there. I give up on them, and I give up on them. I said, what do you mean? Say, yeah, I give up on them. All the things that the UNC do, all the thief, all kind of thing, and nobody ain't get locked up. Almost 10 years and nobody ain't get locked up. What is that? They're going to let them people and them get away with all that money scot-free? Nah, man. I vote for them people to make a jail, and nobody ain't break a jail. So I say I done with them. I say, but oh God, but I know you're my friend. I gotta go back and dip my finger, but I really wasn't going back there, no. And I'm surprised to hear something like that. The government can't lock up anybody. They seem to forget that we had Ramdeen and Ram Logan who were arrested and charged and were before the court. And but for the greed of one man, those charges were dropped, but Ramdeen still has a case to answer with respect to misbehavior in public office and witness tampering. Ramdeen should be facing a charge with respect to cutting and pasting prison gate, but yet still he's out because that investigation is ongoing. And people are upset that in 2020, we would have seen the Express or the Guardian, whichever media house Mark Besant was with at the time, do an investigative story showing us with Barry Padarak the things that he would have done or is accused of doing between 2010 to 2015, where he had no official post in the government, save and except to carry Kamala's handbag and pretend to be something. But yet still, in 2011, he and his mother opened a business, registered a business, and were receiving significant contracts from the state to the tune of millions of dollars. In some cases, getting contracts, winning the bid over companies that had years of experience. This company that had zero experience, zilch, nada, was getting contracts over people and businesses and institutions that have been around for a while and have been have been clients of the state and have had these contracts, millions of dollars. And he couldn't answer the questions put to him by Mark Besant since 2020. And we were told that a police investigation was supposed to take place. The police contacted his mother, Padarat's mother, with respect to large deposits that were made to her bank account and to her life insurance policies as lump sums. And she refused to answer. And then hopped a plane and went to the US. So she going and visit her son and her grandchild. You all remember that? To date, we are in 2025. Nobody in your lockup, no charges, but they were able to, the same police service was able to conduct an investigation involving SSA and the police commissioner on a matter that would have developed long after Padarat issue. And you were able to arrest and question and send letter to the Prime Minister and the National Security Council. But here it is that we have a sitting MP who is accused of being involved in wrongdoing. And 5 years later, nobody in, no arrest, no question, no nothing. So one is left to question, how exactly does the police service do investigations? And you see, when you look at things like that, it only serves to heighten public suspicion with respect to this whole matter involving the police commissioner. Because how is it that you were able to so effectively and efficiently conduct that investigation within a matter of months? But other matters that have been pending for years, we can't get a closure or some sort of outcome with respect to that. That should be easier to investigate. Right? But this, you're all able to deal with that quickly, even though there's no evidence of wrongdoing on the part of the substantive commissioner. So that's why people don't have faith in the system, and that's why this gentleman could say that. Nobody can get locked up. He vex. He is, I don't know, a strong supporter of the PNM, but he vex. Because he doesn't need anything from the state. All he wants is for somebody to get locked up to make a jail for all the wrongdoing and the theft that is alleged to have taken place between 2010 to 2015. And that has not happened. And so there are a lot of persons like himself who are upset because of that, not because he didn't get anything. He didn't know, he wants nothing. He's a business owner. All he wants is to see those who are accused or stand accused of wrongdoing between 2010 to 2015 make a jail, or at least face some sort of charge, some sort of repercussion. That has not happened. And so he's upset. And then, of course, you have the didn't get crew who upset because they didn't get this and they didn't get that, and so they ain't voting. Okay? Or who vexed because they didn't like the choice of candidate or whatever it is, so they're not voting. So these are the things that we need to be wary of. Again, in the interest of time. This matter with Petrojam and Trinidad and Tobago importing fuel oil from Petrojam, which is Jamaica's version of Petrotrin. The UNC has, of course, latched on to that. They make an issue of it. And the fully dance talking about, so we closed down the Petrotrin refinery and Jamaica refining Trinidad oil. Trinidad didn't even have enough oil for our refinery. So what oil Jamaica refining on our behalf? Where did that come from? We were importing over 100,000 barrels of oil per day to refine. So if we didn't have enough oil for our refinery, what we have for Jamaica's, you see the extent of stupidity? And no matter how you try to correct them, they're still putting up these posts, these nonsensical posts, claiming that we send in oil to Jamaica for their refinery. The Petrotrin refinery had a capacity of 176,000 to 180,000 barrels of oil per day. Petrojam is about 36,000 barrels. Let's liken that to Guyana, who doesn't have a refinery but puts out a RFP for a refinery to refine about 30,000 to 36,000 barrels of oil per day. Guyana have all that oil. Plenty more oil, and but yet still they're only interested in a refinery that could refine 30 to 36,000 barrels of oil per day. And the government has made it clear they want no part of that refinery, save and except to provide the land to whoever the operator is going to be. They're providing the land alone. They're not putting any money into that. They're not putting anything. So they don't want the state to have to go through what the government of Trinidad and Tobago has had to endure. Right? They're not interested in that. They've made it clear. We're just giving you the land. You have to bring your money to build your refinery. You run in your refinery. You hire your people. You pay. The government don't want a headache having to pay salaries and spend money for maintaining a refinery and all that. We don't want that. We will give you certain concessions. We will provide you with the oil, of course, but you're buying the oil. We're not giving it for free. You're buying it from us, and maybe we might work out something where we give you a reduced price, but that's about it. So they don't want the headache that Petrotrin provided for the government of Trinidad and Tobago. They would have learned from our experience, and they indicate, you see, we're not interested in that. We don't want no ownership stake. We give you the land, you do everything else. But it's only in Trinidad here. Everybody's so wedded to Petrotrin. Oh, I understand the former workers and stuff, this was their lifeblood, and so on, and perhaps some people felt they got a raw deal. I understand that. But the government continues to maintain that Petrotrin's economic circumstance was unsustainable. But we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that around the same time you had how many other refineries around the world that shut down. Thanks to Kevin Ramnarine for informing us of that. Speaking of Kevin Ramnarine, there's an issue I wanted to address, but I don't think I can do it today. Probably touch on that on Sunday. Because he's some advisor in Guyana. And his incompetence with respect to the oil and gas sector is showing up in some proposal that he provided for them. But we'll touch on that in more detail on Sunday. Right? But just to make the point. So people say, oh, we importing oil from Jamaica, and that's really embarrassing. And look at Trinidad and Tobago as this and that and the other, and the next when it comes to the energy sector, and now look where Rowley and Stuart Young and them have. The refinery was shut down. We know that. We have been importing refined product. We know that through Paria, right? We import for our domestic needs, and we also import to continue to supply those other CARICOM nations who are buying refined fuels from us when the refinery was up and running. We've been able to maintain those markets. So they don't have to go out and look, because they may not have the facilities, the bunkering facilities and all that we have, right? The technical expertise and what. So Paria imports their fuel from where they can get it at the best price, and then they sell it to whoever at a markup. As I told you all, NP has a whole chain of gas stations in Dominica and probably elsewhere. I don't know. But I know I saw the NP gas stations in Dominica when I went there last year. So NP has to provide fuel for these stations, and they're making money there as well, right? But people who complain, oh, they shut down the refinery to import fuel, and how much money they're spending, and how much US and that. And I keep asking the question, when they're using US to import the same oil to refine in the refinery to produce these fuels? So it's just one for another. Instead of paying the same US dollars to import oil, now you're just importing the refined fuel, and it is costing you less because you don't have to spend the money to maintain a refinery. You don't have to spend the money to pay salaries and other benefits for the employees, and all of the other costs associated with running a refinery. You don't have that. So all you have to pay now is for the fuel and whatever associated costs with the shipping and bunkering and whatever the case is. So you have less cost. But some people don't want to hear that. They're so wedded to this refinery that they want to make an issue of it. And especially when you have the alternative, the government and waiting coming to tell you nonsense, will put us back and we will reopen the refinery. It went from we will to we might, or we will consider, right? But I just want to give this example, the simplest that I can. So while I was abroad, I went to Walmart and I picked up something in the grocery called pico de gallo. So for those of you who may not know what that is, it's just simply, it's like a tomato salsa. It has tomato, red onion, shadow benny, jalapeno peppers, and I think lime juice. So I picked up a container. It was about that size, so for $3.30 something cents. So one of my friends who was with me, so she said, "You buying that?" I said, "No, I'm just looking at it. It's looking good. I might want to taste it." So she comes, she look at it, she said, "Put that back. I can make that. We just buy the ingredients and we make that." I said, "Okay." Now, $3.30 something cents for this container. It could probably a good help it. So she says she can make it. All right. So we bought the tomato, we bought the onion, we bought instead of jalapeno peppers, habanero peppers, the shadow benny, which they call culantro there, the limes and so on. So all of the ingredients came up to about 15 US, right? And we went and make it. Tasted very good. But the portion that was made was more or less about the same amount that you would have gotten in the container. So, as I say, candle costs more than the funeral. So you buy the ingredients, it costs 15 US, as opposed to just buying the container where it's already made for $3.38. Of course, you would say, well, it makes more sense to better just buy it rather than you make it because it costs more money, right? It's the same thing with respect to this issue. Let Jamaica undertake all of the costs associated with producing this fuel oil for marine fuel oil, I understand is what it is. And we just buy it from them. Now, the fact of the matter is we're buying it, all the time we're buying it outside. Now, if it is that our CARICOM neighbor has it for sale, we'll buy from the neighbor. That's it, because you're doing a lot of trade with them, because the trade imbalance between Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica is significant, because we export more stuff to Jamaica than we import from Jamaica, right? And we saw when it is Kamala Persad and them and had made their faux pas and stuff, and then Dr. Oli had to end up going to Jamaica to kind of pacify things because the Jamaicans were saying, well, we're boycotting Trinidad products. That would have dealt a blow to our economy, because we export probably something like $177 million to $200 million worth of product to Jamaica. We don't import that much stuff from Jamaica. So we get them a little, the neighbor have it. Instead of we going and buying this thing from the US or wherever else, some other market in Europe or whatever, our next door neighbor is right there. The cost is a shorter trip to buy it and let it come from Jamaica than we have to buy it from, let's say, Europe, because the shipping cost will be more because it's a longer distance. So we could save a little cacada there if we take it from the neighbor. But listening to some of these fully done, they prefer not to buy it from Jamaica because, continue to purchase it from Europe, or continue to purchase it from the continental USA or Canada, wherever it is you're getting it on the spot market, whoever have it at a good price. Continue to buy it from them, and you're paying more for shipping because it's a longer distance, and you don't really have that type of relationship in terms of exports to some of these markets as you do with your CARICOM neighbor, and you could build and foster that CARICOM relationship. They must study in that, All they say, we shut down the refinery. It would have cost you more to make it than to buy it. Simple. Your neighbor have it, buy it from them. It costs you less, and then you sell it to whoever, whatever foreign ships might be coming here to drop off, and they need fuel oil or whatever, and you sell it to them, and they pay in US dollars. What is the issue? What is the issue? But when you're desperate for talking points and you just latch on to these things and hug it up because it's making sense, and you realize it resonates with certain people, the people who are too intellectually lazy to sit for a moment and think, let me see what's the benefits we're getting from this. All of these things go a long way in building relations and repairing relations that would have been damaged by Kamala Persad and her administration when she made the infamous statement, Trinidad and Tobago is not an ATM. In the same way, we haven't forgotten that. I'm sure those our CARICOM neighbors haven't forgotten it either. So all of these things go a long way. Reciprocity. Come now, man. We're helping out our CARICOM neighbors with so many things they buy from us, so many products they buy from our manufacturing sector. We get them a little something. We have an issue with that. So again, I maintain, all who continue to be wedded to the refinery, it makes more sense to buy the refined product and sell, and you don't have the associated cost with refining it yourself. You don't have a whole refinery to maintain. You don't have a staff to pay, other benefits to pay, and everything else that went with maintaining the refinery. You don't have to import oil. The shipping costs involved with the oil, importing the oil and all of these different things. Come on, man. It's just because we're so desperate for something to talk about, and we realize that this refinery is a sore point, but still for a lot of people. What's the time now? All right. One more thing to touch on. The others will have to wait until Sunday. So we have an election to fight. I have my concerns about certain seats, certain constituencies. In Trinidad, and more so in Tobago. I don't think we're paying enough attention to Tobago, right? And I say that based on my recent visit to Tobago some time ago, where I would have had occasion to speak to some Tobagonians. And even though some of them may not be partial to the TPP's messaging is resonating with a lot of people in Tobago, some of whom are PNM supporters. And just as in the United States, Donald Trump's America First policy and America First agenda. Farley pushing a Tobago First agenda, right? And it is resonating with people. So I keep telling you all about this group that I'm in. It's called Tobago People Connect. Has about 5,000 members or so, supposedly, supposed to be TPP supporters. We have a lot of PNM people inside it. And recently, a couple of days ago, so from time to time, they keep posting a sort of thing about Tobago-centric things, separatist agenda, talking about with the latest bid round 26 blocks that the Ministry of Energy put up, right? And some of which appears to be in what they are referring to as Tobago waters. And I have to keep telling them, the name of the country is Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not Tobago waters and Trinidad waters. It's Trinidad and Tobago waters. But they insist they want demarcation. Remember, that is one of the things that Farley Augustine is requesting, is that there be clear demarcation lines with respect to Trinidad and maritime boundaries and Tobago's. So they're talking about most of the blocks are in Tobago waters. And so what they're pushing is Trinidad coming to thief their oil and thief their gas and sell it and making money, and then all we're doing is giving them 4% of that, and then talking about Tobago doesn't contribute to the economy, right? And so you have to be fighting them daily about that. That is Trinidad and Tobago, because before they started exploration for oil and gas in what they call Tobago waters, the economy, most of the energy dollars were coming from on land Trinidad exploration and exploration of Trinidad's coastline or Trinidad waters. And Tobago for years was benefiting from that. And we had no issue with that because we see it as two islands, one nation, one country. So Trinidadians were never talking about, well, Tobago getting how much money from our oil and our gas in Trinidad and whatnot. We were never talking about that, you know. But today, that is the agenda that they're pushing. That is the talk that they're having in Tobago, that Trinidad, the colonial government, as they keep calling it, coming to steal their oil and gas, sell it, and giving them pittance. Because right now, they're entitled to 4-point-something% of the budget. Farley say you want 8%, as if an additional 3-point-something% make a difference. But anyway, as I pointed out to them, they can't answer that. But as I said, it is resonating with people in Tobago, right? And let me give you the extent to which. Let me get this here. Give me 1 second. Right. So let me just turn this off. Right. I want you to listen. So last night they had screening, and one of the persons who offered themselves for screening is Trevor James. Trevor James, who is now the secretary for the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, Urban Development, I think is what it's called. And he screened last night. He wants to be one of the potential candidates. I can't remember if it's Tobago East or Tobago West that he is offering himself for. Now, to me, it speaks volumes, right? Because you want to elevate yourself. You're no longer whatever district you're represented. You're basically telling people here, what now? I fed up all. I had enough all. I have my sights set on bigger things. I want to go to the parliament. I want to go and advocate Tobago first in the parliament. And somebody needs to let Mr. Trevor James know, and whoever else is going to come, that there are other bills that the parliamentary term is 5 years. And there are other bills over the course of that 5 years that would be debated other than the Tobago Autonomy bill. So when you're pushing a Tobago first agenda, right, and a separatist agenda, and only fueling animosity between Trinidadians and Tobagonians, because when I read some of the, and Trevor James is also in this group, the Tobago People Connect, right? Tobago People's Party Connect. He's in that group. And in fact, most of the, because I've seen Certica or commenting inside there, and I think a few of the other secretaries also in that Facebook group, right? So when it is that you are seeing the propaganda machinery, as we heard about in AudioGate, putting up these posts that clearly showed it fueling animosity, because sometimes when I read some of these things, you just want to reach into the phone and grab somebody by the shirt and ask them what nonsense all you're getting on with. The level of animosity and hatred that exists now between the two islands never existed before. As soon as the PDP, now TPP, has come in, that is all they have been pushing. with the secretary, the chief secretary referring to PNM supporters as house Negroes and enslaved sycophants and all kind of nonsense, and his supporters picking up those same terminology and referring to the PNM supporters as that. So if you don't support Fali and his agenda, or you don't support the TPP, they consider you to be a house slave and house Negro and all them kind of foolish talk. This type of language we never had before. Never had before. All these things that they're coming up with now and pushing, Tobago never had an issue with it. You had an autonomy bill that came before the parliament, and Fali tried to sabotage it by minutes before they take the debates that you come in to send the prime minister a WhatsApp message with a whole set of amendments. Not even giving the man time to look at it or to discuss it with the cabinet or anything, and you expected these amendments to be discussed on the floor. Is that how you operate? Is that the mindset that Trevor James wants to come to the parliament with? So that when it is you bad talking Trinidad morning, noon, and night, but you want to come to the national parliament that deals with issues that affect not just Tobago, but Trinidad as well, how the hell are you going to come to do that? How are you going to inject Tobago in every single debate? And when debates going to come up where the impact of these regulations or these laws would affect Trinidad more so than Tobago. So what, you just plan to sit down and hush your mouth for those debates and you have nothing to say? And when the time comes to vote, who are you going to vote for? Who are you going to vote with? Well, let me just play Mr. James Swaley. Speaking in the
awards or sells a block of energy space to somebody, and Tobago gets wrong comes. The government of Trinidad and Tobago awards or sells a block of energy space to somebody, and Tobago gets zero benefit from it. That's what the law still allows. Block 22, not the one in Canaan, the one off Charlotte.
Hold on, let me just connect this thing here. Right. I don't know who's gonna kiss you. Give me 1 sec. I don't know why this thing isn't connecting. It's connected. What's going on here? Just connected. Right. Right. I don't know what's going on there. Let's play it from the phone.
Nautical miles from Tobago, 50 nautical miles from Trinidad, control from Port of Spain. Block 22A, the reserves in Block 22, 43.3. Block 22A, 8 to 10 miles from Tobago, 48 to 52 miles from the nearest point in Trinidad, being Toko, some point in Toko. Not AC. Block 22B, again, 7 to 10 miles from Tobago, 50 to 55 miles from Trinidad. No control. North Coast Marine Area, this is an interesting name. North Coast Marine Area, maybe it's North Coast of Trinidad, that's what Tobago is. Off the western side of Tobago. Poinsettia, 22 miles from Tobago, 35 miles from Trinidad. And they've been taking revenue, when you average revenue to the new law of 35% now. They've been taking revenue of $2 million since US per day since 2009 from Poinsettia. Not a cent or a cent for Tobago. Shell has now run pipelines from Orchid Field and Shaconia Field that are closer to Castara than Poinsettia, 7 miles I am told, to pump to the platform in Poinsettia and the central Trinidad volumes that we don't know anything about. And we must sit in Tobago and see Tobago cannot be delineated. Calypso Field, 10 to 15 miles from Tobago, 60 miles from Trinidad. Tobago cannot be defined. So, Justice Anthony Lucky.
So as Mr. Trevor James, who has hopes to become a member of the next parliament, representing one of the two Tobago seats. Do you see what he's doing there in the chamber of the THA? Right? Again, promoting their separatist agenda, their Tobago first agenda, and talking rubbish and lies about how much gas is being taken from these fields and not a cent for Tobago. I want to ask Trevor James, the 4 billion or so that you all get annually, whether the 2 point something or whatever, plus what it is that you get from the ministries and so on, where you feel that money coming from, Trevor? Where you think that money coming from? So when you could come and stand up in the chamber and talk a whole fallacy talking about all of this 2 million US a day from Poinsettia Fields in 2009 and not a cent for Tobago. So you all don't get money from central government, Trevor. Where you feel the money comes from? And notwithstanding, even all of that money that you want to talk about, it is still insufficient to manage Trinidad and Tobago. And we have made the point, even though I don't like to discuss that, and that when you look at the population size of Tobago, roughly about 66,000 persons, getting on average about $4 billion per year, close to. And you have regional corporations in Trinidad that have 2 and 3 times the number of persons in terms of population size. Tunapuna Piako Regional Corporation, for instance, that covers probably a land space that has about maybe about 180 something or close to 200,000 people. And they get a budget of about 100 or 200 and something million dollars a year to manage all of the needs, as opposed to close to $4 billion that 65,000 people get. I know you all don't like to discuss that. Farley saying that he wants 8% of the budget and all of that, but the law specifies for now. There was a proposed increase starting 6 point something percent in the Tobago Autonomy bill. But when a man who wants to come to the parliament is telling Tobagonians this, and of course, he's not going to limit it to the chamber, because when campaigning starts in earnest, exactly what you heard him say there is what he's going to go on the platform and say. And the people who will just take that at face value, it's something like, yeah, boy, they're ready for Tobago, you know, yeah, they're robbing we. The PNM and them, they're robbing we central government. And using terms like Tobago is a ward of Trinidad and the colonial government and the colonial masters and all this kind of thing that's stirring up things in people in Tobago. So even persons who are supportive of the PNM, if they're not hearing, if this separatist agenda, this Tobago first strategy appealing to them, and they're not hearing that coming from the PNM side, you have persons who may be supportive of the PNM saying, you know, but as a PNM, you know, but yeah, but Farley and them looking after Tobago and the needs of Tobago. Are they really? Farley wants to be supreme leader of Tobago. That's exactly what it is. When Watson Duke made that statement that we don't want no chief secretary stupidness, we want we own prime minister. Even though it seems that Watson Duke may have abandoned that, it has resonated with Farley. And while he may not talk that talk, clearly it has taken root in his heart, and he has put together a team that going after that. Going after that. And so the UNC will have no problems accommodating them should they win either of the 2 seats in Tobago or both, God forbid, in giving them wherever you want, Farley, because the UNC sees those 2 Tobago seats as being a humbug. And if we could neutralize those 2 seats and get rid of that, that's why they don't even bother to support, they don't even put up candidates in Tobago, because they know it's a losing prospect. Right? As Kamala said, to let Tobago see after themselves and whatnot and stuff, and she doesn't believe a party that is rooted in Trinidad should be in Tobago. So they don't, never mind, they have a regional representative in Tobago. For what I don't know. But I am saying, I don't know what's happening in Tobago. I know Ansel Dennis is doing his part. Kelvin Morris fighting the fight. And they're fighting him back. But he's holding the fort well. So, kudos to Kelvin for his efforts. But where are the other persons who were part of the PNM administration before the 14-1? Where are they? I am not seeing you. I am not hearing you. In the lead up to the election, we were seeing so many persons from that administration and hopefuls who were doing live and telling us what's happening in Tobago and stuff. All of a sudden, these persons have disappeared. You're not even hearing their names. What is happening? Let us not take it for granted that no. The margin of victory last time wasn't all that great, And I am saying that we cannot underestimate the power of this messaging of Tobago first. It resonated in the United States of America, America first. And now they're seeing the impact of America first, right? We need to create jobs for Americans first. So we need to get rid of the immigrants who are currently occupying those jobs. So you've gotten rid of them either by force and some of them having gone into hiding. And now you've seen the disastrous impact in just 3 weeks, the disastrous impacts of America first. Now you can't find workers. Like I saw last night, 100,000 eggs stolen in Pennsylvania. Gone in Costco. If you see people stacking up the trolleys with eggs because they anticipate the price is going to be going up. But that was one of the issues that they voted on, and the price of eggs was so high. And Trump promised to bring down the price of eggs. Now the price of eggs has gone higher. And so what they're doing now, they're hoarding eggs before the price continues to go up. But he was promoting his America First agenda. And all they bought into that. Yes, all these immigrants who come in and taking American jobs and the criminals and all that kind of thing and whatnot. The same thing, they painting a picture in Tobago that all the crime taking place in Tobago is Trinidadians going across to Tobago and committing these crimes. But yet still, the other day, Ali Augustine blamed the mothers in Tobago for that. Because all you see, your child involved in a wrongdoing and a racket and you're supporting it. Right? Martin George said it's homegrown. So stop blaming the Trinidadians for it. It's the same thing that happened in the US. A lot of these people that they're rounding up and sending back home are law-abiding citizens who've been paying taxes and working hard and have acquired property and stuff. But because Trump was able to paint this picture that somehow they are invaders and we need to get rid of them. And now your economy is starting to see the impact of that. That you didn't realize the impact. So they're pushing the Tobago First agenda and making it seem as if Trinidad is the enemy. But when they have the carnival in October, yeah, come Chinese, or they come and spend all your money and play mass and make it the best carnival. They bigging up carnival last year in Tobago, but who made it a success? The 30,000 plus Chinese who decided to live here and go across there. All the hoteliers who benefited and the guest houses and even persons who rent out a room in their house. Because when I went to Tobago the other day, a guy was telling me that people who rented out rooms in their house and make money because they didn't have enough rooms in the hotels and the guest houses to accommodate all the people that came. They have this festival coming up that they replaced the Tobago Jazz Festival where they pay in Buju Banton $225,000 US to come and perform. But they were bad-mouthing the Tobago Jazz Festival and they were bringing us the foreigners and at the expense of the locals and all of that. But the same thing, when they come and simply create a new festival, $225,000 US for Buju. Right? If it is that it was the central government had done that for the Tobago Jazz Festival, you're here earlier. We can't get 200 US in the bank, but they could find 225 US to pay Buju. This government and this government. But Fali could find 225,000 to pay Buju, and all they had nothing to say. Nothing to say. 26,000 was spent by the Ministry of Trade and Industry the other day to purchase something that a bogus company, and they get take to use the vernacular. They get take. Well, 26,000 US, you can't get 200 US in the bank, and they could spend 26,000, but you have no problem with Buju getting 225,000 US. You ain't asking Fali where that coming from. No. But you want to kill Rowley and kill Paula for 26,000 US. Clearly something, the hypocrisy is the issue. But I'm making the point. Understand the messaging that they come in with in Tobago, right? And as I said, it is resonating with people. They're given the impression that they care about Tobago and Tobago and Tobago and do this for Tobago and do that for Tobago. All the time you think working nobody in Tobago, that is you. But all of a sudden, Fali and them come now and making it seem as if Trinidad want to rob them. Take the oil and take the gas, and they could make, because people like Vanos James and Winford James and all of that was telling them that in the lead up to the 2021 election. Tobago could survive on its own. We have oil and gas. You have the infrastructure for that. You have an LNG plant in Tobago that you could monetize that. The country is still Trinidad and Tobago. So the fact of the matter is, even if you have a delineation and you want to separate the borders and say Trinidad waters and Tobago waters and so on, the fact of the matter is that these major energy companies not coming to talk to you. They're talking to the central government, which still has control over these things. And last I checked, energy doesn't form part of the 5th schedule that they love to talk about. So when it is that you are pushing this stupid agenda, right? Eventually it's going to get to the point where Trinidadians will get fed up. I'm just saying that. And Trinidadians have the potential to be just as bad, mine. So when Easter come around and you're looking and your hoteliers and your guest houses looking forward to Trinidadians coming over to spend the money, as has always been the case, and when it's Tobago Heritage Festival and all the other things that you all have, with all the monies that Fali and whoever spending to travel all over the world, to go to Grenada and Jamaica and Europe, to try and sell Tobago. But at the end of the day, when you have these things, who is it patronizing it? The same Trinidadians that you're bad-mouthing is the ones who spending the most money and is providing the most patronage for these things. But you're bad talking. And you want to now come to the parliament or what? To come and with the same kind of nastiness? Somebody needs to let Trevor and whoever else has aspirations to come to the parliament to understand. It is not only, you cannot come to the parliament and expect to only talk about Tobago. And when other issues are being debated, you sit down like a wooden judge in a Ramwood session or a stump on a log and you have nothing to say, because there will come times when you are required to vote. So if you're planning to go to the parliament and just sit down there and do nothing and just gape and watch, no. You cannot come to the central parliament of Trinidad and Tobago and expect that you are only going to come and push a Tobago first agenda. I have no problems that you wanting to push Tobago, no issue. But the way that you are going about it is wrong. And all you're doing is pushing seeds of hate and separation. And maybe that's what all you want. Because we know Kamala will say, if all you want independence, take it. We could get rid of them 2 seats and fine. We give you all the authority and the autonomy to deal with all the oil and gas blocks in Tobago waters, and all you could do all you want. So anytime the energy companies come and we have bid rounds, you all could run that. And you all negotiate with them and all you keep the money. But understand the impact of that money on the wider Trinidad and Tobago. Okay? Because Trinidad benefits from that too. And even the money that we get in from the gas fields now and the oil fields is not enough to meet our needs when we have a population that keeps wanting more and more and more and more, which is why the government has to pursue Manatee and pursue Dragon and Lauren and Mannequin Coquina and all of these different things where we know the gas is there and it's just a matter of bringing it so that we could earn the income, as opposed to what the UNC is talking about, in-border oil and in-border gas, where you have to come and drill and look to find and then take years to develop it. But anyway, it is 8 o'clock. We will continue this discussion on Sunday, all right? So let me just take a few calls quickly before I depart, because I said I have stuff to do. David Taylor says, simply we shall start to do like Sandals and go to St. Vincent, Barbados, Grenada, and let Tobago suffer. And that is what will happen once they continue to push this thing. Eventually, Chinese will get fed up. Because if we come into Tobago, and when you have people could talk about povisine in the water of Trinidadians and get them diarrhea. And this is somebody who the TPP has embraced and put on a board in Tobago. Never condemn, but want to talk about Calcutta ship. Miss me with that nonsense. So, let me just get this here. Let's just know. Let me see if this thing will connect. So 1 second. Mr. Yates, morning.
Thank you, and thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I just have 1 or 2 points to make this morning.
Go right ahead.
One. Now, recently, we know about all the bacchanal that's been going on in the police service.
Mm-hmm.
We know all of it. And we also uncovered, I won't say discover, but uncovered, because it rubbed me the wrong way. We also uncovered a video that came to the attention of the national community of in a video last year, addressing his congregation and telling them, I want to be commissioner of police. So when I saw that last week, I'm flailing and touching about, the hands all over the place.
Now, some people might say, well, it's expressing ambition and nothing is wrong with that. It's using big words like self-actualization. Of course, we all have ambition. Of course, we all want to ascend to higher positions in this life. But there's something called timing and timeliness and appropriateness. Listen, Earl Christopher, she turned 60 like about May last year. The government wanted an extension for her. They went to Parliament, they got it. So substantively, between May last year and May this year, Earl Christopher would have been the Commissioner of Police, appointed, reappointed, substantive police commissioner. Yep. So we have to uncover, that 3 months into her assuming the job of Commissioner of Police, your most senior deputy is addressing his congregation and shouting to the highest heavens, I want to be Commissioner of Police. No. For me, the timing could not have been worse. Now, I am not attributing anything sinister to Mr. Benjamin, you know. What I am saying is that your commissioner was officially and substantively reappointed on contract. So she is substantively the Commissioner of Police. And 3 months into that period, you are addressing in a public fashion your congregation. I want to be Commissioner of Police. For me, as I said, I am not suggesting anything sinister to Mr. Benjamin, but it rubbed me the wrong way. It gave the wrong impression, and I wouldn't pursue anything more about that, because the man is now the appointed acting Commissioner of Police. But I don't want to go into anything about conspiracy theory and all of that. I will leave that alone. But it's now that I have discovered that this is what happened in addressing your congregation in Tobago last year. 3 months after the lady was reappointed. And given what we have seen in the last 2 weeks, only one word comes to me. With all due respect, Mr. Benjamin, obsession. And this is why the lady was still Commissioner of Police, recently reappointed to act in the position, officially the Commissioner of Police. And for me, it sent the wrong message. And given what has happened now, for me personally, just for me personally, it leaves a very disturbing and sour taste in the mouth. I'll say no more about that. Right? The second thing is this persistent attack on Stuart Young. Now we know why Tanku, on instructions from his leader, obviously, withdrew from this Council for Responsible Behavior. You see, Mr. Roman, you see the dynamic has changed. They couldn't come with an outright racist attack. If Dr. Rowley was still there, you could have gone down the road of, well, it's easy, you know. Dr. Rowley black, he's Oreo, he's black man, and when PNM won the election again in 2020, you see things posted about black people eating banana, all of these things. So their focus principally is race, full stop, and nothing else. Regardless of what Megu or anybody else tell you, it is race. But they are attacking Young now from a different racist angle. Remember, Stuart Young is not a Douglas. He doesn't have African blood in him. He's not half African, half Indian. It's half Indian and half Chinese. So the focus now of attack will have to change from being Oreo and black man to a different kind of approach and perspective. They're going down the road of his two halves, the two halves that make up his heritage. So they've gone behind his mother's heritage now and distinctly describing him as Stuart Lalbihari Young and Stuart Rajesh Young. Why insert Rajesh? Is it to demonize his mother, who's a Muslim, as the Mahakabha has come out and said? Why use your well-known Hindu names to denigrate and say nasty things about Stuart Young? Why you must do that? Why must you do those nasty things to attack the man? To attack the man. And you see, what is so stupid about these people? Stupid, short-sighted, and dotish. They give it the impression that they hate Stuart Young. But we know Trinidad, we understand the sociology of this country. Why they tell you on one side of the mouth? Look at the letter writers. Oh, Stuart Young is so arrogant, and so this, and so that, and inconsiderate, and the barrier diverse, and this and that. Why are they talking that? We know Trinidad society, we understand the sociology of this country. Let me tell you something. If you know Trinidad, as we know Trinidad, why are they telling you, giving you the impression they hate Stuart Young? Listen to me. They love him more than dal and rice and couscous because of his color and his mixture. The peculiarity of his mixture, as I say, he's not a dukkha. So they would love him even more than ever. That is what it is. So all who giving you the impression that they hate Stuart Young and they hate Stuart Young, listen, they love him more than anything else. He provides a distinct fear for the UNC in the election. Because I don't have much trust in NAFTA these days, but they made a point 2 weeks ago in a long letter to one of those newspapers. They said that the problem for the UNC and Stuart Young is that he seems to be attracting the attention of young East Indian voters. That is bad news and a bad omen for the United National Congress. That is why, and I told you the other day, they will come out with blazing guns to attack him personally, with women, with his stepdaughter. Don't rule out anything, you know. Don't rule out anything that he with his stepdaughter too. And that caused a breakup between he, his stepmother, and the mother of that girl. Anything is possible. And as I close, let me just say this. Let me just say this. Because it's a burning issue. As you would notice, Mr. Romain, except for your platform, and Darian on afternoon, sometime, the stalwart supporters of the PNM have found themselves in a very unenviable position where the doors for expressing of views have been systematically closed off from us. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
We have no vent again. So I am suggesting, I spoke to Mr. Chance about it, and he said he would make representation from his end. I think at this stage, PNN has to create an avenue or avenues for their supporters to fly the flag of the party, because outside of little cameo letters from the Women's League, no other officer of the PNN has said anything publicly in defense of the leader, in defense of the party. Nobody, no officer inside there. And I find that very, very disconcerting. And PNN leadership must step forward and do something to create a vent for its core supporters to fly the flag of the People's National Movement in the upcoming general election. Thank you, Mr. Romain.
Thank you, sir. So I see KW John Leith, is it? He says party politics causing this divide. For me and many conscious Tobagonians, it's not Trinity versus Tobago. It's a perception of how Port of Spain, the many administrators, handles matters concerning Tobago. It's a fair point, and it's a discussion that I would want to have, Mr. Leith, But I can't have it this morning, but I will raise it again on Sunday, and perhaps you can call in if you so desire and just give us an idea as to what are the thoughts of Tobagonians in respect of what is happening. All right, because as I said, as you said, conscious Tobagonians. So let us know what are the issues that you all have with Port of Spain, how things are being handled, and how you think that could best be resolved without the separatist agenda that Fali and they pushing on that side. And just to give you an example of one of the things, right? Just give me 1 sec, and let me just switch this. See if there's something here. So one who goes by the name Tobago Rose. Them Trini, them want drill for oil right here in we Tobago waters. Then when the year done, them give a little bit, just 4% out of the whole budget. Them making $2 million a day, and we getting crumbs. That's thiefing, plain and simple, even if them using no gun. This is the kind of things that they push on this, right? Another one, it's time for Fali Chavez Augustine to carry we case to the international court. Trinidad thiefing we Tobago marine resources, and that must stop. Another one, small pin done start bad with Tobagonians stealing the future of Tobago, we Tobago oil and gas. So as I said, and when you have Trevor James could get up in the assembly chamber and make statements like he did. That $2 million thing that you just heard me read there, that came from him. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Tom. How are you doing, my darling?
Morning. Hi.
Amazing about Tobago. We are one nation, okay? Call up a time you want us. And sometimes I suggest we take our money and go elsewhere. And then, son, we need a solution. And see how you will fare. Because ignorance doesn't see cents or dollars. It just sees shit. Who would you want plastic animal? Help you make money? The same people you're hating on. In the eyes of Tobago, we are now the 1%. Right? You know how they hate the 1%? So much? We, that have become the 1%. And it comes from insecurity. Don't education, okay? Off and on. If I'm doing catering, I count the cost of what I have to buy. I buy the best olives, the best peppers. I buy the best for catering. I can do pre-paints, mincemeat, or buy it. Now, pre-minced meat is less work, but more money. We have to count the cost of, let's say this, Jamaica, Trinidad. Importing oil is less money. But you know, there's a little here and there, but you get value for money. Or you drill your oil and you have to pay more workers. That's simple maths. As if your brain's working. Right? Listen to Stuart here. He's a mixed man. You know what? But he's Trinidadian to the bone. He's born, his parents are Trinidadians. Make it make sense. Rory must go Rory Black. Not he must go what you want. This is example for a stepdaughter. I saw a video yesterday of Ann Roberts' ex-wife having sex. Then he said go to he go. He's exempt by his ex-wife porn lifestyle. Do you think so? Pamela's grandson in England smoking weed and drinking rum. She just stepped down because her grandson is making her shade in England. She's exempt from serving because of her grandson. Him to be saying, son, beat somebody. He should be kicked out too because his son beat a man by a woodwork with a cutlass. Suresh Rambachan's son expose themselves in a restaurant masturbating, he must be kicked out. Get in the bed, grab somebody's breast, he will be back in the party. Potential rapist should be out of the party. All exempted from serving because you have a past and a present and a future of our lifestyle. What is still there? X is X. She was young, didn't adopt his ex-girlfriend's daughter. And if she did, it is still stepdaughter, not from his loins. Double standard. They don't have nothing to bring to the table, so they're going to go to the bowels of hell to dig up things. Kamla, step down. Your grandson is a drug addict and a drunkard. Alaran, so from TSTT, his name is there, step down because you committed fraud. Fraud is a crime, right? You're up TSTT, you have the whole nation. That means you're up USC people too. Step down. If you're going to push faithfulness and loyalty and justice, be faithful, be loyal, be just. Tobago, have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Hello, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
I just want to say on the point discussed so far, I agree with what he would say. I just want to correct him on the church. The church that Mr. Benjamin was at was Pentecostal church in Tobago. Sorry, not in Tobago, in Puna, sorry. Yeah. But the thing is the Pentecostal cathedral in Puna. That's where he worship and so on.
Right.
But in the bunker and fuel issue, I think the idea of CARICOM, one of the things that the promoter in CARICOM University, in fact, Mr. Manning time coming forward, is increase in regional trade, where we will circulate the money in the region amongst ourselves and save ourselves costs as you identified. So even if the deal is between Paria and Petrojam, isn't that better all around for both countries and the region?
Yeah.
So I don't understand it. But and then I want to throw something in the mix. But Guyana is now a big player in the energy sector. Suriname is going to enter the market. But if the refinery at Petrotrin is restarted, could we see down the road where we would kind of lessen the reliance on the arrangement with Venezuela? And we could have the oil from those two countries which have now come into abundance of oil, and anything that we would discover would go there to be refined. And if so, the cost to transport the refined products for domestic use would be less to us, and also in terms of exporting, because you would have already had the infrastructure here for some time, and vessels owned by these two countries and other international the oil companies who extracted it will be able to leave here and go to points outside the region and put the export easier.
Right.
So I also think it would be better in the long run if the refinery at Petrotrin is restarted. I think anybody who is a regionalist and cares about our economic well-being would agree with me that would make sense economically for all players. That's just me. I don't know if you agree or you disagree.
I agree.
You understand? In terms of the situation with the Commissioner of Police is very unfortunate, is what I would say. What I would say is what you have there, sir, is the coalescing of ambition by many people and a dog-eat-dog attitude. Now, this has long existed in the upper echelons of the police service, but this is the most naked, brazen, and ruthless it has been displayed, and the fact is it has been displayed for the national community to see. Right? So we just had to wait for it to develop. But I'm saying that this is what would have happened when successive commissioners, successive administrations of the police service would have made a decision on who best to elevate and fast track into positions of leadership. Right? And not because of the core thing that the public thinks that senior leadership have, which is acumen in terms of police work, actual police work. But that was sacrificed on the altar of higher education. Nothing wrong with that. But there are many who have told in the field and were quite proficient in investigations and police generally, who would have received commendation from magistrates and judges. And they weren't able to be elevated because of the push to have certain people elevated. I want to leave this with right? Considering this is Christopher. She was a contractor, let's put her mind back to the situation when Gary Griffith's contract ended in 2021. And the then PSC attempted to give him an acting appointment. Instead of elevating Mr. McDonald Jacob, who was then the senior deputy commissioner of police.
Right.
You recall what happened? They had to hurriedly go and withdraw that acting. Why? Because he was a contract employee and his contract had been terminated. And therefore, it was not like it was somebody acting in the private sector or in another position. This was in the highest office of the police service. And because of what was determined in the manner in which appointments to the deputy commissioner of police and commissioner of police were to be made, the process had to be initiated. He having been a contract employee, he could not have been extended in that office. Similarly, with Ms. Christopher Rao, she ceased being a contract officer on the day she became commissioner of police. A career officer, then became a contract officer. So, if you go back and read the situation from the letter from the Wallace Service Commission, is ambiguous, and it's ambiguous for a reason. Because they gave her an opportunity of a parachute escape whereby she may have availed herself of any remaining vacation leave or other leave she has and go. In terms of, she could have done so voluntarily. But she wasn't fired because the wording was clear. Cease to report with duty. So immediately something figures in your mind. And the fact that the other matter involving her as quantum math would mean that contract expiring in May. She will have a month. So you may have indicated by the court in the hearing. What happens is that she would not be subject to receiving damages of some sort or other, whether it's vindicatory or ordinary damages for loss of earnings and that kind of thing, and the humiliation suffered for what you went through and so on. So I just wanted to better consider that and think about it in terms of the whole imbroglio. And it was I wouldn't call the name, but it was a former high-ranking civil servant who said this about the police service. From constable to assistant commissioner of police is about policing. From deputy commissioner to commissioner is about politics. And the only way we could get ourselves out of this, Dominic, is in the coming election to give a PNM administration enough seats that they could repair all these things independently of an irresponsible opposition. It's the only way that all the things that we have recognized administratively across all spheres of the public service, but particularly electing the leadership of the senior leadership of the police service, is the only way to be fixed. Only way. Because nobody from the opposition side, if the configuration is as it is after 2025 election, will put country first and do the right thing, fixing all this maladministration that exists to have senior police leadership appointed. And it only happens in the TPS. And if we want the best of these people and the best for our country, where crime, criminality, and law and order is concerned, must be fixed. Thanks for the opportunity as usual, and you have a good day. And I know that you're gearing up for any walkabouts you have to do in your respective constituency.
Indeed.
Good luck, my friend. You have my support in the endeavor.
Thank you. So let me tell Winston, nobody is against autonomy for Tobago, right? It is the issue is that Fali and the TPP continue to shift the goalpost with respect to what they want with respect to autonomy. Okay? And that is the issue. And when it is my problem is when you're sowing seeds of division by talking about the oil and the gas and Tobago waters. As I said, there is no Tobago waters. It's Trinidad and Tobago waters for the time being. They are now calling for further separation, for delineation, to say, well, this is Tobago waters and this is Trinidad waters and separation. So if it is fishermen venture who are custom fishing in Trinidad and Tobago waters venture into Tobago waters, we're going to lock them up, you'll arrest them, because he already wants his own Tobago police service. They want their own, nobody's saying no. But I am saying the way that you're going about it, there are certain things come now, man. It's just like what they promoting is two totally separate states. You have St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they have those issues. You have Antigua Barbuda, you hear them having those issues. You have Turks and Caicos, you hear them having these issues. Nobody is saying no. The whole issue of Tobago autonomy has been on the table for a long time. And yes, based on there needs to be perhaps an upgrade of what currently exists. But you can't keep shifting the goalpost because you meet and somebody tell you, hey, well, here what now? You know, you should also ask for this and also ask for that. Yeah, we love that into it. So what was good before, all of a sudden it's not good because somebody whispering something in your ears and telling you, well, take the opportunity now to get this and to get that and to get that. And you keep adding more and more to the pot and shifting the goalpost and causing problems. And that is the issue. That is it right there. They keep talking about consultation and consultation, but there's the wider Tobago public support what it is Fali and they are doing. But as I said, if depending on how you present it, if there is not a proper counter argument coming from the part of the PNM highlighting what it is that they are doing, then that could be dangerous. I have no issues with Tobago wanting more autonomy. Fine. There are certain things that they want, okay. But with respect to the contribution that the energy sector is concerned, you can't be playing things because this could be damaging, because when you talk and not talk, and these energy companies now saying, well, should we really bid for any of those blocks in the Tobago, what is perceived to be Tobago waters? Because if the Tobago administration have an issue with it and they and it have a flare up, and then there's some Tobago autonomy bill that is to come, can we expect that if it is that this bill passes based on the next election, that this could upend what it is that we have in place and what we're doing now, because they want to renegotiate because they find that Tobago should get more, and as the case may be? That is a discussion for you to have with the central government, but not in the way that you're doing it. So let me just take this caller here. Let me get this here. Let me get this here. Hello, good morning.
Blessed morning to you, Dominic.
Morning, sir.
And all on the life. Tobago is a very special part in Trinidad and Tobago. And you see, after the election, like the PNM losing candidates just go. I have a problem with it also, because for 4 years now, we ain't hearing nothing from Jack. They ain't debunking nothing that is coming out from the assembly by Pali and all the members, because plenty untruths are being told. And where is like Jack and Davidson and these people and them? Where are they? All who lost in the election in 2021, where are they? PNM, all in Tobago. The meetings all they having, do these people come and represent the constituents that they represented? That they give their opinion concerning what is for Tobago? Especially we have our two ladies, East and West in Tobago, doing a very good job. I would like to hear the losing candidates come forward and support the both Tobago East and West by debunking the lies that are being told or the untruth that is being told by the TPP, especially this one coming out from Separatist. I just want to say this. The city union, they take pride in just opposing what is good governance. The refinery should have been taken up by all unions in Trinidad and Tobago because they say they represent over 400,000 people. If you understand where I'm coming from, Dominic. And if we wanted to give the government 750 million for the fine to run it, that should have been done. But you see, they want the government to run it for mismanagement and corrupt activities to continue going on, and they would have been collecting the union dues and being part of this is what's going on in the government. Bad faith, Mr. Ansel Roger and company, they should have taken up the refinery and run with it, all the talk they're talking. Because the calculation is importing fuel is cheaper than refining the fuel from the refinery. You understand what I'm saying, Dominic? So what I'm saying again, the people of Trinidad and Tobago must continue to support this government and the management of the resources and finance of Trinidad and Tobago for what they have been doing for the last 10 years. And don't be fool people. It's only one way to go. PNM. Thank you very much, Dominic.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chance. Hello. Mr. Chance.
You understand what I'm saying, Dominic? So what I'm saying again,
hello, Mr. Chance.
People of Trinidad and Tobago must continue to support this government and the management of the resources
Hello.
and finance of Trinidad and Tobago for what they have been doing for the last 10 years. And not be fool people. There's only one way to go. PNM. Thank you very much, Dominic.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Dominic. Good morning to you, sir.
Morning, sir.
Yeah. I decided I make a little contribution before I take my walk this morning. Very pleasant good morning to you. Welcome back. I understand you were out.
Yes.
I listened with great interest to the discourse. But on my contribution this morning, I want to focus on this petrol jam matter. I want to focus on the consequences for that. And part of the discourse you mentioned, take warning. And I want the people who have to go to the election booth this year, take warning. You made the point, the consequences if you make that wrong decision on the election day. There are people in the United States of America crying. There are people of African descent going sent back to Africa in chains. That is because the people in the United States of America made the wrong decision on election day. So election day has consequences for you individually. Don't believe it has consequences only for Dr. Rowley and the PNM. It is for you. The people who made that decision crying, all the people in businesses and so on. It is affecting them. When they went to vote on promises and inducements. Promises and inducements. And when those things were not fulfilled, they found themselves personally in the wrong place. And that's the context in which I'm speaking about this matter with Petrojam. The first thing I want to see is that Trinidad and Tobago benefits the most from CARICOM trade. Let me say that again. Close to $3 billion or more we benefit from CARICOM trade. Jamaica is one of our CARICOM partners. Let me tell you how much we benefit from Jamaica. So when you believe this arrangement with Petrojam is a small thing, it is for Jamaica, it could unravel Trinidad and Tobago. Let me share with you that in 2022, Trinidad and Tobago exported to Jamaica in the value of $177.49 million. In other words, we got from Jamaica because we sent things to them to put on their grocery shelves and the supermarket shelves and to put in different areas of the country. $177.4 million. Now, what did Jamaica get? You know, Jamaica export. When Jamaica sent things to Trinidad and Tobago for the export, you know what they got in return? $35.9 million. You see the difference? You understand that it's called trade balance. So Jamaica has what is called a trade deficit. We have a trade positive with Jamaica. Jamaica is behind the most ball. So when Jamaica gets a small thing from us, a 6 months contract, don't jump up and attack them. Don't jump up and attack them. Because if Jamaica says, okay, like what happened with Dr. Rowley and the ATM machine, remember that? Dr. Rowley had to go to Jamaica and talk to Jamaicans. You know why? Because you see the figures he talking about there? That is why Dr. Rowley had to go. Because we could have lost $177.49 million a year. That is the consequence. That's why Dr. Rowley went there, though. Because it costs us money. And not only money, my people, it costs us jobs. Because we send our manufactured goods to Jamaica, and the people who manufacture the goods in Trinidad and Tobago hold jobs. So if they can't send goods to Jamaica, what will happen to those people? They'll be sent home. They will have no market to sell those goods. And that is why it's called trade. And that's why Dr. Rowley is very important. And that is why something is called the CARICOM single market and economy. We work together as a team. So when you feel you can attack Jamaica and say, oh, Jamaica, we get to know it. No, there's a trade balance that you have to look at. And the other point I want to make with that is that the marine oil that we are getting from Jamaica is a buffet for us, because we are not importing gasoline or diesel from Jamaica. You know. The UNC giving us the impression that that's what they're doing. We are importing marine oil, which is called fuel oil, and that is used for factories. That is used for marine vessels. When vessels come to Trinidad and Tobago, we'll have that to sell to them to make a profit. Don't get confused with the UNC talk and Petrochemical closed down. Because what we are buying from Jamaica is marine oil to be used for factories, and these vessels, cruise ships and so on, when they come to Trinidad and they want to refuel, we will sell them that at a profit. So we are getting increased foreign exchange. You know, we have a problem with foreign exchange. That contract, that arrangement between Paria and Petrojam brings benefit to Trinidad and Tobago through the acquisition of more foreign exchange. So don't let the UNC fool you about that. As far as I'm aware, when I read all the information, the UNC is in a different place to CARICOM, you know. And if you make that error on election day and put the UNC in power, we're going to find ourselves having serious problems with the other countries in the CARICOM. Kamala Prasad, the assessor, voted herself onto Donald Trump. Fixed and firm, she voted herself onto him. And that could have serious consequences for CARICOM. CARICOM is having a meeting to determine what is the future of CARICOM in the light of Donald Trump policies. I'm saying that to you, CARICOM is having a meeting, and top of the agenda is what is CARICOM response to that. So your vote on the election day has some serious consequences for you. Because if we do not get enough revenue a lot of the benefits you are getting for your children and yourself will have to will disappear. Because once we are not getting enough revenue, we have to knock on the door of the man and say, that is Mr. IMF, to pay our bills. And if we have to knock on the door to pay our bills, it means you have to borrow money from Mr. IMF. And when we borrow money from Mr. IMF, that has consequences for pension, that has consequences for disability grant, it has consequences for the number of people employed in the public service. All those things could disappear if we make that wrong decision on the election day. Because this Petrojam matter is a simple thing. But then you have the other one I spoke about, how Kamala Prasad has embraced Donald Trump and the consequences for that for the people of Trinidad today. I thought I would just make this point to you because I think that's very important. And when we listen to the radio and we listen to the TV6 News, they are filling our heads with a lot of things, shaping our public opinion. And I'm asking you to pay attention to those things. Those things are directed in a way. The same thing was done in America, and the people are crying now. They listen to all the different propaganda, all the different inducements. And when the time came, individually they are crying. I want to thank you for this opportunity to make my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Marlene Wilson McNeil says manufacturers from Trinidad benefit big time from exports to Jamaica, correct? And they better tell the party, most of them support to stop making confusion because they stand to lose. And that's so true. People say things in Trinidad and figure you're in a silo. That's not the case, right? The Jamaicans are very well aware of what is being said and the whole issue surrounding this matter of the announcement with respect to that. And the UNC has gone to such lengths now, right? You know, and these people telling you they want to come back into power. They're going to dig up to see who is the shareholders in Petrojam, right? So Petrojam, as I said, is the Jamaican version of Petrotrin. So it's government-owned, but you have private shareholders and so on. One of the private shareholders is the National Commercial Bank of Jamaica. So they went and dig up, they get that, and now they're saying, well, you know, National Commercial Bank of Jamaica is affiliate of NCB Global, which is Stuart Young brother, and Stuart Young, mind you, Stuart Young's brother Angus is CEO of one of these subsidiaries, right? But it doesn't come to link that already to say that Stuart Young, as Minister of Energy, decided to purchase fuel oil from Petrojam because one of the shareholders in Petrojam is NCB, the National Commercial Bank of Jamaica, which is an affiliate of the parent company and Stuart Young brother. So you see where they're taking this thing already, yeah? Look at the lengths to which they are going to imply all kind of couture and whatnot. So to imply that the government of Jamaica now is in couture to give Stuart Young brother company money to benefit Stuart Young and all kind of thing, and Stuart Young is going to become the prime minister. Look at the lengths to which they go in, right? That is the lengths to which they are going now to come and tie up and make claims against the Jamaican government of being involved in things. The same thing they did with Jindal and Maduro as a corrupt cook-up with Jindal and Rowley and Maduro. And Jindal wants to buy the refinery so that he could refine Venezuelan oil and all kind of bacchanal. All these things. Now, I don't know how they're going to operate because you see Trump seems to be willing to negotiate with Maduro. So the firm stance that that he was projecting before, now he seems to be willing to talk. Right? So like, even with Iran, the firm stance that he had with Iran before and accusing the Biden administration and the Obama administration of going soft on Iran and giving them on freezing the money with let's call it hostages and so on and all that. And he would never do that and all of this thing. Now he talking, well, he wants to see an Iran that is prosperous and doing well, just that he just wants an Iran that doesn't have nuclear weapons, but otherwise that he wants to see Iran prosper and all that. Where did that come from? That was in the position before. So, okay, we'll see how that goes. He wants to take the Gaza Strip and all of that. But if he is willing to sit down at the table, the negotiation table with Maduro, hey, I say all for it. Makes it much easier for us The UNC don't want to hear that. Venezuelans in the US upset about that because they find that they're upset that Trump might be willing to negotiate with Maduro, right? But the UNC don't want that because if Trump negotiates with Maduro and Maduro has another 6 years, and God forbid the UNC wins later on this year, you realize they have no excuse. Maduro don't want nothing to do with them. He have a whole book, a whole dossier of all the nasty, dirty things they've said about him and the things that they've accused him and his administration of. So they know they can have no dealing. So that is why David Lee is now doubling down again on in-border gas and in-border oil. And this clown, this Ramnarine, who we'll deal with on Sunday. So already the people in Ghana are criticizing this proposal or whatever it is that he submitted for them. Now he was paid not much thousands of US for. So if it is, but he wants to be the next Minister of Energy here again, right? You know how long in-border oil and in-border gas is going to take to be monetized? You have to find the oil and find the gas first. So you have to offer incentives to the energy companies for them to bring the money and drill. And then if they don't find, same thing we going back to between 2010 to 2015. If you drill and you ain't get nothing, you find a dry hole, wherever money is spent to dig it, take that back against the taxes and royalties that you would be owing us on the existing projects that you have that making money, which means less money in our coffers. That is what they're doing. Rather than you hush your mouth and try and see if you could be what you could do to get access to the Venezuelan oil and gas that is already there, and we have a plan in place and we have proposed everything in place so that we can benefit from that. But no, well, come and drill in Trinidad and yeah. Eric, go ahead.
Hi, morning, sir.
Morning,
Morning
sir.
to the listeners for live. And I want to just jump back into Tobago. We were talking about with Farley and Trevor James, and who aspiring to be prospective candidates in the general election, right? I wonder if people in Tobago forgot the so-called quote unquote the ex gratia payment that they would have promised them since Christmas 2021. Since Christmas 2021 to present, 3 Christmases passed and not a single word, right, from this so-called party called TPP, former PDP, whatever they was, right? Tobagonians are very clangish people, right? They just always see them as the, Dominic, that is the little stubborn sister who always wants to be Tahashi with, that is Tobagonians, right? They don't want Trinidad to outshine them, but what they fail to realize that Trinidad and Tobago is one entity. There's no Trinidad or no Tobago. And all that narrative that they want to push, I want to give the perception that Tobago could go on their own, and Tobago only have a population of 65,000 people. Could Tobago withstand any challenges, not only in the Caribbean, but outside the international market? Could Tobago be an energy giant by itself? Because if only one secession, right, to Grenada don't want oil because them trying to maintain themselves. Barbados don't want oil because they maintain themselves. What will become of Tobago? An island all by itself, isolated in the Caribbean? See? They see, and you have people like the Tobago rules and the Barnes James and the one, this one and that one. They're not educating their people with regard of what is really going on in the energy and the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. You understand? Because they feel that they don't need Trinidad. Tobago is heavily dependent on Trinidad in many, 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 many ways. But when they have people like Farley and them like never see come see, and they feel that they could do and as they please. Look, up to now, it have people in Tobago balling, the fisher folk in Tobago. All the economies and businesses in Tobago has been faltered for the last 4 years. The last 4 years, them hasn't even put nothing in place to make Tobago one of the marketing place for tourism. At one point in time, Tobago was the mecca of tourism for Trinidad and Tobago. Now, I don't know what is going on with Tobago. Sandals came to Tobago, they run sandals, right? What you all put in place to get economy and tourists to Tobago? You think that if Sanders was day to day after 7 years, Tobago would have been housed in business today? No, it's a PNM project. They'll make the PNM look, and this is the problem with people, they'll make the PNM look good. It's not about the PNM, it's about the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And this is what the opposition in this connection in Trinidad doing as well. The PNM people is the PNM party and the PNM administration. They're studying that what they do is going to be detrimental to the country, you know. All them studying is the role, well, that's not there again, but the Stuart Young and the Camille and this one and that one is not about the PNM and the government. It's about the benefits and the well-being of the people in this country. You understand? And until we get that right, we will be continuously spinning top in the mud. The UNC party is not good for this country. If you as a party that aspiring to be the alternative to the PNM in government, which should never happen. First time in my life, I ever hear a country literally going to have talks with the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. First time in my born life in this planet Earth and this country called Trinidad and Tobago. Which country I know that is going to actually go to IMF to have talks in relation to what the economy and the business in their country? I know that IMF just come to that country when the economy is down at an all-time low. And they need some sort of assistance to get above water. But only in Trinidad, we have an opposition that would rather see the country on its knees, burn down the ashes and not to govern it. Why? Because the PNM will look good and to help us the citizens. But then again, the good leaders say, party before country, otherwise go to hell. So you're trying to tell the people in this country, if you vote for UNC, to hell with all of you, give them pressure. And that's what's going on. Because all the projects that the late great Manning had, they scrapped every one of them. And what they put in place in the last 5 years, that they were there, absolutely nothing. They built one hospital in Cuba, in the UNC Heartland area, that would be very hard for people on the east-west corridor and the south and southern Trinidad to come to there. That's the only thing they didn't know, to build a hospital, and they claim that they built a hospital at 6 schools. Well, I still want to know where their schools and them is. I waiting on that. You understand? All these things that they want to portray and want to feel that the PNM government don't care about people, and we suffering, and we do it, and it's hard. And Carnival is 1 month from today, well, 1 month from now. All them for time will be booked up in the weeks coming up. The next 3 weeks will be non-stop. But we suffer. We just in our country, we just protest and chorus when it's convenient to us. You understand? And that is what the UNC is using on the minds of the misinformed, that the government and the PNM administration don't care about all year, don't care about the 1%. Since when PNM become a 1% party? From now, it was a black party. Now it's already in there. They know what to describe Minister Young. And as what Mr. Hayes say, they're trying to infiltrate the man's mother's side of the family. And so they go in. So I am not putting nothing to chance with this United National crooks, right? Because clearly them don't want to see nothing progress in this country once they are not in office. And I hope, and I'll tell you again, you see what America going through 3 weeks later. If people play fast and loose, as you rightfully say, Dominic, with their vote, I'm going to go and say, let me get after the PNM and I want to vote and let me put in the UNC. Sad be the portion of Trinidad and Tobago, because it will be a country, the Caribbean, will be isolated from the Caribbean. And nobody in the Caribbean would have nothing to do with UNC, because it's the same UNC partnership administration that would have tried to double down on the CARICOM and Venezuela. So we wait and we see. People, election is around the corner. And as Senator Jenny say, know the assignment. We're going to vote the People's National Movement to get laws, legislation, and get the country on a footing going forward. Dominic, good program, listening.
Thank you, sir. With that, I will take my leave as well. It is 9 o'clock. I went over the time that I had planned to. But as I said, I would love to have this conversation with respect to Tobago, get the views of some of our Tobagonian listeners going forward. What you all think the PNM should do or needs to do in terms of ramping up campaigning in Tobago. Right? I see, where is it? So I saw something there just now I wanted to just mention. So Michael Bando, is it? He said I could do my show Monday to Friday because Shahan and Bruce not on air. Is that so? What is going on with 91.9? How the mighty has fallen. I'm don't get me wrong, I take no pleasure in the downfall of any business. But I'm just saying, Ivor's model was, you had a good thing going, as I say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You had a good thing going, you had good people on your station who could pull the audience and stuff and pull advertisers, companies, and so on, and then you went and bring them two clowns there, and look what you did. Yeah, because you have X, you didn't get the boat, and we jammed the PNM, and all the good people you lost. Let me just take this last one here. Hello, good morning. My president.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
I've always heard you talk about this fact of individual. I now went to the supermarket and my bill came up to $460 with 55 cents. But I'm seeing where it says sales 0 rated. It's $303.20. So as far as I understand, $303.20. Right, that those items wasn't taxed.
Correct.
So I only get taxed on like $142.53. How many people doesn't look at that? I'm not coming here and I see you still on the customer calling.
Right. And I appreciate that.
No problem, sir.
Thank you, boss.
You have a good one.
You too.
Yep.
Right. So you see, same thing I've been talking about with respect to the whole VAT issue. Yeah. Next time you go to the grocery, look at your bill. As I say, I always love to go and stand in line and have people with a lot of trolleys. And so I could look at the register and see how much money they pay in VAT. The other day I went to PriceMart, person's bill came up to $3,000 something, and when you look at VAT, it was $170 something in VAT. Yeah, so when Pasabi Sasa come to tell you, put me back in office and we will remove VAT on food on 7,000 food items, and that is going to make a big difference. Been there, done that, it didn't work. Right? There are lots of stuff that is non-VAT that people don't know about and pay no attention to when they go to the grocery. So next time you do, take a look. So let me thank Nigel, President of Pleasantville, for just that timely intervention. So folks, enjoy the rest of your day. Nigel, yesterday I was at Radisson, and because they had the junior calypso monarch, and I don't know, I saw someone that looked like Marcia. I said, suppose there's Marcia twin. I don't want to. Yeah, I wasn't too sure. So I don't know if it was her, if it was a twin, but yeah. You know why I kept it safe because the next thing there's a twin and she don't know me and then want to know who's this strange fella coming to talk to her. So yeah. We'll chat again on Sunday, folks, usual time. Yeah. I haven't started working as yet, but now that I'm back, my constituency executive is on my back to get boots on the ground. So from next week, we will start that process. Right. So just one or two things I need to put in place, and then we'll let you guys know where we started to work. So a lot of people have reached out and have offered to join the campaign. So we appreciate all and sundry coming on. Right. So let's win this. We remember it's not just about Malabar Mausika, it's about the PNM serving another term. Because the alternative, not ready. They're just not ready, my dear friends, as Mr. Manning would say. So enjoy the rest of your day. Make it a productive one, a safe one on the nation's road. And Sunday, God's willing, we will chat again. Continue the discussion. Touch on Tobago. We touch on Kevin Ramnarine and the work that he's doing in Guyana. That basically tells you why he should not serve another term as a Minister of Energy in Trinidad and Tobago. Right? So we'll chat again Sunday.